welcome to Chorlton High School. We're the Access and Achievement Department, and that essentially means that we look after children with educational needs. And if you've been invited to this session, we're assuming that your child has been logged as having an educational need at their primary school. So we wanted to just introduce you to our department, what we do a little bit at Chorlton High School, and how we're going to know who your child is and what their needs are. So we've contacted you because we know transitioning to high school can be a difficult time both for the children, especially the children, they're our priority, but we're also thinking about parents as well. Parents and carers, and what you need to know, what you need to be aware of, and that your child's needs will be fully supported at high school. Okay, so how do we get the information from primary school and from yourselves? This year is slightly different to previous years. The local authority has set up a portal which is called 6 into 7. Primary schools can use this to give us some detailed information about your children. This information can include details of any diagnoses and what support has or is currently working for them at primary school. It's also used, the portal, to pass on any important documents, so any diagnostic reports, any strategies that have been suggested from any health professionals along the way. We can incorporate them into the support that we're offering at Chorlton High School. So that will all be on the portal, and if there's anything that you feel it's vital that your primary school pass on, it's a really good idea just to check in with the SENCO at the primary school or your year 6 teachers at primary schools, just to make sure that they've put on all the information and that you're happy with what they've passed over to us. Once we've received all that information, one of the most important things that we do is to create a one-page profile for your child. And primary school will have had something similar, whether they call it a profile as well, or it might be known as a passport or an IEP, various names for these things that have changed over the years. But there'll be something in place, and that's really useful that we get that from primary school. So when we're creating a new profile at high school, we've got all the relevant information. It's a document that gets attached to your child's profile at high school, and it's a particularly useful resource for our teaching staff because it tells them how best to support your child, both in their lessons and when planning for teaching those children. In addition to the information provided by the primary schools, we also ask that you as parents and carers provide information to enable us to create as bespoke a document for your child as possible. And there'll be some further information during this presentation on how we go about doing that. And once we've completed that, we aim to have those attached to the profile. So as soon as your child's starting in September, our teachers have got some useful information on how to support them, which has been already fed into with the information that you provide for us. But at that stage, at the start of September, once they're on roll with us, we'll issue that one-page profile out to you at home just to get your final approval. And if you think there's anything that we've missed, you can let us know and we can incorporate it. Or if you think that there's anything we've put on there that isn't useful for your child, then equally it can be removed. So just to introduce you to our department, and it's just made me realise that I didn't introduce myself or Michelle at the start of this presentation. So I'm Kevin Pilling, my picture will come up in a minute, and I'm a sport coordinator at Chorlton High School, and this is Jen Shaw, she's one of our assistant SENCOs in the department also. You can see on the presentation that we've got Mrs. Dawson, who is the lead SENCO in the department and also the curriculum leader, which means that she oversees the whole team of teaching assistants and specialised teachers.
This is just telling me about it.
And the other person on there is Mrs. Whitaker, who's another assistant SENCO, but she tends to work currently with Key Stage 4. Within the department, we have some specialist teachers and teaching assistants. At the moment, we're roughly about 20, but depending on the needs of the children, that fluctuates sometimes. So those teaching assistants work to provide some individual needs and looking at students that need support, and as well as offering that targeted support to all students to be able to maximise their potential. That support can take many forms. Literacy, numeracy tuition, in-class support, group work, one-to-one sessions and interventions. Some of those are with a specialist teacher for dyslexia, for example, as well as access to specialist equipment and specialist programs, things like sensory circuits and things that we tend to do as interventions, predominantly in form time, so we're not taking the children out of key subject areas, and also things like our think room, which is for therapeutic inclusion, where children might get some more kind of counselling sessions, play therapy, those kind of things, where the children get offered time to think about what they're doing in school. We're also here to drive inclusion, remove barriers to learning, and provide advice and support to colleagues in school and parents and carers at home also.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. So I know not all of you will be on here as a kind of year 6 parent coming to our school next year, but there will be plenty of you that are. So I just thought I'd introduce the pastoral team that will be kind of overseeing your child next year. So Miss Baxter will be their head of year, and then head of lower school is Mrs Wilson. The attached assistant head will be Mrs Henderson, and I'll be the attached Senko for year 7 next year. So just so you've got that overview there, but I'm sure you'll be getting this information time and time again between now and September. I thought it might be important as well to introduce the safeguarding team. Obviously, as a SEND team, we hope to have a really joined up approach, and often find it might be necessary to work with other departments. So we do a lot of close kind of work and overlap with the pastoral team, the safeguarding team, which you can see there. We work closely with the EAL department, English as an additional language, as well, and the attendance team as well. So lots of joined up thinking and approaches, just so we can make sure that we can support your child and their needs best. So at Chorlton High School, we have a graduated whole school approach when it comes to support. So you can see there, the foundation tier at the bottom is our universal offer, or our universal provision. So the majority of students at CHS will have their needs met through a high quality universal offer, and I'm going to touch upon this in a minute in a little bit more detail. In the middle section, you can see there's a little more support being given. So this is support level, and it might mean that additional support through SEND sessions is needed. They are quite targeted to the student's specific need, as you can imagine. So we offer things like, as Kevin touched upon earlier, we offer things like Lego therapy, speech and language therapy, the think room sessions. So it might mean that they need to have check-ins as well with a key member of staff. So some of our SEND support students will have a key worker. These kind of interventions usually initially last for a half term, and then we will review things and monitor how things have gone, and then kind of adjust the support or take, maybe step back a little bit and take some support away if that's necessary, or provide some further additional support. We have support coming from our team, but obviously, like just mentioned, a lot of support coming from other areas as well. So the pastoral team, the year head, the form tutor, the attendance, the safeguarding team, offering lots of support at this level. At the top there, you can see there is a minority of our students who require, really specialist support. So this is support designed on an individual and specialist level. It may be that the student needs access to sustained provision, which allows access to their learning. This may also include further support from professionals and specialists, such as speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, and sometimes educational psychologists as well, just as a few examples. This support will often be resourced through the child's EHC plan with that level of support. So this is how SEND needs are identified and monitored at CHS. Teachers and staff, of course, having access to all of this information. So whether your child is being monitored within the SEND team, or whether they are being provided with a little bit more support to access their learning and well-being, or whether they are at specialist level where they potentially have an EHC plan. This is kind of how we identify and monitor our support at CHS. So going back to that pyramid, if you like, our universal provision forms the foundation of all we do, as we mentioned. And we strongly believe that every teacher is a teacher of SEND. So you can see there that in all of our lessons, we have a really adapted practice expertise within our teaching body, and we have lots of strategies within our everyday high quality classroom teaching that use inclusive approaches, reasonable adjustments. They are very focused on student outcomes, and we have a range of access strategies that we will be providing and utilising in the classroom. We believe at CHS that inclusion is part of everyone's responsibility. So we have the clear expectation that all teachers are teachers of SEND. The Special Educational Needs and Disability Code of Practice is the key document which highlights schools' legal requirements. The Code of Practice is not itself a legal document, but it does contain the legal requirements and statutory guidance from the Children and Families Act, the Equalities Act, and the Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Regulation. And the Code of Practice aims to ensure there is a consistent approach to considerations given to children with SEND. At CHS, we have established and we maintain a culture of high expectations that expects those working with children and young people with SEND to include them in all the opportunities available to all children so they can achieve well. Teacher standards make it clear that teachers must be skilled and adapting teaching to meet the needs of all pupils. And schools within Manchester follow the key principles that are set out in the Manchester Inclusion Strategy. So that was probably a lot of jargon there, but it's basically, this is kind of our school and our trust vision falls within all these legal requirements and documentation, and we follow those closely, and we have this universal offer where we aim to make sure that every child at CHS feels that sense of belonging, feels respected, and is absolutely valued for who they are.
Okay, one of the levels of structure we just mentioned was the SEND support level, and what that level is that the child is monitored as having an SEND and also has some level of support put in place within school. There's some examples there on the screen, which is bespoke support, assistive technology, speech and language therapy, hub access. Hub access is we have a hub within school, which is a place where children with the necessity for can come out and have some quieter time away from lessons if they've become particularly heightened or distracted for any reason, and it gives them a space just to kind of refocus and perhaps get a little bit of support with preparing them to return to their lesson. The one-page profile, which I've already touched upon and will do so again in greater detail, but also exam access arrangements, school students within school with a diagnosis often need some additional support within exams, things like additional time. It can be that they're used to using a typing device within lessons, in which case we would make sure that they're eligible to use that within exams also. And then the graduated whole school approach, which we've also touched upon, it's also worth mentioning that this is how we look at children, and it could be your own children who may already be on the educational needs register, may already have a diagnosis, but if we're looking for further diagnoses or further support, then in order for us to go out to third parties such as CAMHS, then we would put in the TAC process. The TAC process is team around the child meetings, and the way we work is we have to be able to evidence a plan, do review strategy over 2 or 3 meetings in order for us to be able to go out and get help from one of those agencies. The reason we have to do that is just to show that school have put in enough effort and enough support to show that those things are necessary, and it's not something that we can just manage in-house without some external support. So that's just kind of for a bit of background knowledge. If you're ever seeking further diagnoses or help within school, that's just to explain the process a little bit. Okay, the one-page profiles, which I've mentioned a couple of times, and they're a big part of my world at school, in that I do a lot of the creation of them and taking that information from primary schools, from yourselves, and putting together the package, as well as other teaching assistants in school, the SENCOs specifically. So just a little bit more information on those, that the one-page profiles are an essential part of how we share important information about pupils to all teaching staff. They capture essential information and put it all in one place. They are co-produced with families and the young person, and include what teachers can do to help and support them in lessons. They support the development of relationships, as they include information on what matters to the student in their life and in things that they enjoy. All staff in school have access to the one-page profiles, and they're working with, and it's important that you know that the information contained when these are updated or a new one-page profile is created, we cascade that information around school to relevant teachers and relevant people that need to be aware of that information. There's a QR code on the screen now, and you can use that. I think these are set up already, and the QR code is set up already, that you can actually scan that now, and that would give you a questionnaire that is something that we would find useful for you to complete, to incorporate into your child's one-page profile. The earlier we get that information, the better. Just to make you aware, this QR code at the end of this presentation will be left on the screen for a few minutes, so you will still have access to that and opportunity to use that. If you're not, and I wholeheartedly sympathise with anyone where this is the case, if you're not technically literate enough to use QR codes, or indeed as you don't have the technology to do so, because my phone's from 1998, then you can get in touch with school and we'll be able to send you a link just to complete that at your leisure. We'll have a quick look. This is a blank one-page profile, and in a moment we'll show you an example of what is completed on these. You can choose the completed one.
Yeah.
So we will, in the top left-hand corner where there's just a pink square, that would be a picture of your child, their name and details of their area of need, and then the main sections that we complete in school are the things I'm working towards, the bottom green box on the left-hand page, and the strategies for supporting the child in the top right-hand page. The other sections are more often completed by yourselves or indeed the children, and we ask for some things that they're involved in, things that they're enthusiastic about, and our teachers are able to use those in numerous ways. If for example a child is reluctant to work in a specific subject or find it difficult or are not it can become demoralized about it, we can talk to them about how this fits in with their frame of reference and what that subject will mean for them. If, for example, and I put myself on the spot saying for example then because I haven't got anything prepared, but if for example they want to be an accountant and they're saying, when am I ever going to need algebra later on in life, then I came up with a really obvious one, didn't I? But for example, we're able to just kind of promote the subjects that they're in by using something that they either are involved or interested in now or potentially will be in the future. Some of the other sections there are suggestions of things that resources that the children may have, whether that be a fidget toy predominantly for children with ADHD or concentration difficulties, whether it be a timeout pass for a child that can become overwhelmed in a lesson and needs a few minutes either just outside the classroom, or if it's a more significant issue they might need to come up and use the hub area that we've talked about already. So when we set these up, all teachers that teach your children have access to them, and it's a working document throughout the child's Chorlton High career. Anytime we meet with you, we can make amendments to it. And the other thing to say is, like I say, in September, you'll be sent your child's one-page profile and asked, although you've already had some input with the questionnaire, whether it be from the QR code or the link, if there's anything we've put on there in September that you feel is inappropriate in any way, or it's lacking because you know that there's something vital for your child, then absolutely we can look to amend that at any point.
Thanks, Sue. Okay, so the top tier then, just a bit of further information on the EHCP provision that we offer at Chorlton High. We would, every EHCP child, if you like, would have a key worker, and they also have TA support in core lessons. We offer very bespoke targeted support and interventions, and as we've touched upon, the one-page profile will be there, and exam access arrangements as well. Every child with an EHCP will have a provision map as well. So we design and we implement these for all of our students with an EHCP. And this gives you a really clear idea of how we're using the funding and resources for your child. And you, of course, can, we will speak with you about that. And you can, of course, have some input there as to what you think, looking at the EHC plan, what your child needs most. So again, this may develop and change throughout the year, but it will always be there, and it can be adapted. So the rest of the presentation, I guess, is more general stuff, and I'm not going to spend too long on this because you will be receiving this information through other sources as your child transitions to Chorlton High, but it's just here for your reference. So your child will receive a lovely support student pack when they come to us on either their pre-induction day or their induction day. So this is a really useful little booklet that you can go through with your child just to help them with that transition. The school day looks like this. So again, this will be on the this is on the presentation, and it will be on the website for you to access whenever you need to, whenever you want to sit down with your child and start thinking about what the school day is going to look like for them. So preparing them as best as possible for their start. There'll be information sent out to you about uniform very shortly. The Arbor app as well is our kind of communication between parents, carers and us at school. So that's a really useful app that you'll hopefully be able to download. And of course, just reminding the students that we are a no phone school. So again, you might want to start thinking about that transition too. Also on the presentation for you to have a look over is some useful links. We've got a link there to our school send information area. There's the Manchester Local Offer website up there as well, and Send Yes.
Okay, we're just going to mention as well a really important person within our department, which is Mary Murray. She's there in all her glory on your screens. She's our SEND administrator, so she is often the first port of call for phone calls into school, into our department, and she will pass that on to the right person for you. And she also oversees the Send admin email address, which if you've got any inquiries for school that's specific for the educational needs department, then that's the email to use. And again, Mary will cascade that to the relevant person, whether it be a child's key worker, a support coordinator such as myself, who might need to look into your inquiry, or one of the SENCOs. She'll decide who's the best person to speak to. Along the way, you may also, you know, if we're in contact with you more regularly, then you'll get to know our own email addresses and things, and you can contact us directly if you know who it is you need to speak to. But I think as a rule of thumb to start with, it's really good to make sure you know Mary's name and the Send admin email address. And there's just a few important dates for you to be aware of. So Tuesday the 10th of June, Monday the 16th of June, primarily for EHCP children, and they'll be invited into pre-induction days, which are in advance of the whole school induction day, just to give them a little bit more information and an additional visit to the school. On Thursday the 3rd of July is the whole school induction day, so all of year 6 will be in that day. We will have teaching assistants within most of our classes that day looking after your children, and we'll be well on our way to having all the information by that point. So any one-page profiles that are set up in advance that day, teachers will be aware of. And that's just to say, if you haven't done it by then the one-page profile completion QR code or link will be really useful to have by the end of the school year.
Sorry to interrupt there, sir. Can I just also make you aware, anyone on here whose child does have an EHC plan and might be attending either on Tuesday the 10th of June or Monday the 16th of June, those will be morning sessions, and we will get the details out to you very, very soon. But just to be mindful as well that we would really like to meet you as their parent or carer. So we will be allocating you a short kind of appointment time. So we'll meet the children in the morning, but then it might be really useful if you can also come and meet us late afternoon, early evening sort of time, I think, at this stage. But we'll be sending like very specific details out to you in the very near future. On induction day as well, there is a parents' assembly evening that evening, which is also always very useful. That'll be a Miss Marisa, head teacher, delivering that. And I think we've come to the end, really. We're going to leave this QR code up there for you, everyone. And hopefully, if you are, I know we've had quite a few queries and questions in the chat. Hopefully Mary is whizzing through those as we speak. But obviously, if there's anything that's not been answered, we will get back to you as best we can, if we can locate your details. But yeah, I think that's all from us really at this stage. And if we are welcoming your child and you in September, we will be in touch very, very soon, and we will see you on one of those really important transition induction days. All right. Thank you from us, and we'll see you again. Take care.